Hello, everyone, and welcome to our last presentation session of the day. We started with tennis, and we will be ending the day with football. I have to admit, I know a lot more about tennis than I do about football, and it's been one of the perhaps great flaws of my moving to the United Kingdom is that I'm still not watching any Premier League games. So I'm sure this presentation will probably boost my knowledge of football a great deal. So we're joined by Paul Murphy, who's a digital image expert with the UEFA. In case you're like me and you didn't know what that stands for, that is the Union of European Football, and it is the governing body for football in Europe. So you probably know that every other year there is a big tournament, a football tournament, and that is part of what Paul's going to talk about today. So he has been with UEFA for quite a number of years. They had 11 dams apparently, and he has consolidated all down to one, which is quite a monumental effort. His background is newspapers. He worked at a picture desk at the one of the largest sports agencies in Ireland, and today he's coming to us from Nyon in Switzerland. And he's going to tell us about their journey with digital asset management. Paul, take it away.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Yeah, my name is Paul Murphy, and I'm delighted to speak to you all today. I'm the digital image expert at UEFA. And for those of you who don't know UEFA, UEFA is mostly famous for the UEFA Champions League club competition, which runs every season. And then every 4 years, we have the national team tournament, UEFA EURO. I'm going to dive right in. I arrived at UEFA almost 7 years ago to the day. It was the 1st of November in 2013. And the dam landscape when I got there was something like this. I realized it was a bit of a challenge, and I had to get UEFA from this position. And they weren't unlike an awful lot of organizations at that time who were struggling with digital asset management. But I wanted to get them to this. This is like the idyllic Swiss countryside, which was close to where UEFA offices are and where I found myself now living. So I realized I had to get UEFA from a chaotic environment to this really, really perfect solution. Now, just before I go into how we've done that and the journey itself, I want to go through today's game plan. While I'm going through the agenda, if we could bring up a poll. I just want to gauge who the audience is today. I mean, you can see me, but I can't see you, and I just want to get an idea for who I'm speaking to and make sure that I have content in this presentation that will be relevant to all of you. So if we could start that poll while I go through this, that'd be great. So I'm going to go through how that journey began from 7 years ago and quickly just bring you into the environments and what challenges I faced. And then the creation of DAM 1.0, and then the first major milestone that came after that, which was UEFA EURO 2016, which took place in France. And then what came immediately after Euro 2016 was our research into creating DAM 2.0 and moving forward in the DAM world, which we actually finally got to develop during the initial lockdown in 2020, which was based on our plans for Euro 2020, which was meant to happen this summer, but now it's been postponed until the summer of 2021. And then finally, I'll close with a look to the future and where we will go, looking beyond next summer's tournament and where we can bring DAM further in the organization. And if we could close the poll, it'd be good to see the results.
Yep, I can tell you we have the question, hopefully all of you saw it, is what is your relationship with digital asset management? We have 40% of the audience said they're just learning about DAM, so quite a number of beginners here today. Currently kicking off a DAM project, we have 25% of attendees. 30% of attendees are developing from DAM 1.0 to 2.0, so sort of moving into the next generation. And only 5% would consider themselves a seasoned pro with vast amounts of successful DAM projects under their belt.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks very much, Teresa. So sure. I think I definitely have relevant information for all of you as I go through this journey. So let's start. So yeah, as I said, I arrived 7 years ago. My objective was build a photo library, and I was arriving into a communications department, and I was presented with 4 platforms, and they were from legacy platforms with photo agencies and other places that had been providing UEFA with content over the years. And metadata was very, mismatched across it. a lot of things were sort of following folder structure. So if you knew where you were going to look for something and you worked in a specific area, you could find what you wanted. But I was looking at it going, okay, I got to bring all this together. How do I make sense of all this content? How do I make it worthwhile for the organization, for everybody to be able to get in and use this content? And we were finding that a lot of very, very important content wasn't being exposed to the right audiences because they didn't even know that another platform, they were all using one or two, so they weren't using the four. And then as I started to do the research more and more, and then getting to know a lot of people across the organization and doing interviews about how people were using digital assets, I found another 7 platforms. So that's where we got to 11. And I had a lovely view from my desk out the window at Lake Geneva, and then across the lake on a clear day, you could see Mont Blanc, and I'm staring at that mountain going, okay, I've got a bit of a mountain to climb myself. And when I added those other 7, when I found them, I was kind of starting to sweat. Duplications were running wild across all of those platforms, and it wasn't even easy to follow the duplications because people were downloading from one, renaming them, changing things. Metadata was being stripped off. It was just an absolute mess. There was no policy around metadata, and I think a lot of users didn't even realize that images had metadata. And governance as well for the assets was not really a concept it was heard of at the time. But thankfully, I've been working in DAM for many years. As Teresa mentioned, I had a newspaper background and I worked in a sports photography agency. And I've been using DAM software for all those years without knowing it was actually called DAM. I just knew them by the software names we were using and photo libraries I was managing, and all of the workflows and processes and innovative ways we were getting content in and out to our clients. Thankfully, was all good metadata policies and DAM principles, which I was able to bring into UEFA to do this project. And it was quite a good project for me as a newcomer coming in, because it was a huge cross-divisional project, and me as a newcomer, I didn't really know where the silos were. So I was just going straight to different units, departments, and finding out all their business processes. People were quite open to me, and that was quite beneficial because I didn't know where the divisions were and all these silos. So I was just straight away finding out how I could make a centralized platform to benefit the entirety of UEFA and then its member associations, which at the time were 53 associations across Europe. We're now 55. So we created DAM 1.0 and we launched that in June 2015 ahead of our first major milestone, which was Euro 2016. So we had an entire club season in which to use the tool in a live environment. We have many similar, stakeholders are pretty much the same. The requirements are the same, but it stretched out over a longer term, and you could really then fine tune as we went across the season to make sure our DAM was really perfect, all singing, all dancing for Euro 2016 when it came along. I mean, and Euro is just an absolutely massive undertaking for the organization compared to the club competitions. It's a very intense period where everybody comes together. The staffing numbers absolutely swell. A lot of fixed term contracts come in for Euro. In 2016, it was in France and one country. For Euro 2020, the plan is to be in 12 different host cities across Europe. So it's absolutely massive. I'll just give you a bit of an understanding. This is just one room from the International Broadcast Center, which was in Paris, which is in a big expo center where I was working for the tournament and the photo team, where we were managing the DAM and all the content coming in and making sure everybody got it. And this sort of building was so chaotic and huge that when you walked in, if you turned left and you were supposed to turn right, it could be 3 hours before you found your office again. It was just such a massive undertaking. So our stakeholders, Euro, the requirements are massive, and really there's no room for error. So as I said, DAM 1.0 had to be all singing, all dancing when it came to this tournament. And those stakeholders are notably the fans, and they're reached through UEFA's web and apps and social channels. The football family, then the teams and players themselves, the partners, the broadcasters and sponsors, and then the rest of the media, the rights and non-rights holders. And in this picture, actually, we have 2 of those stakeholders together. That's an Iceland player taking the selfie with a bunch of fans after a game at Euro. But it's 24/7 coverage. We eat, sleep, read football for 4 weeks of the football action itself. But we go there in advance for 2 weeks, and we do a lot of photo shoots with the teams. So it's just, if you're not in that IBC building working, you're back in the hotel on your laptop, and it's just football all the time. And the DAM could not fail. But we were successful, and thankfully it's down to metadata. The content will only perform as well as metadata allows, and I published an article on this yesterday on LinkedIn. Metadata is just key. It is the most important thing you can think about when you think about digital assets. And it's very important to have good policies in place because it is really the key for success. What I found doing DAM 1.0 was that our suppliers had styles for their metadata. And it wasn't really our position to start dictating to them, no, you have to change to come into our requirements. So we adapted to that style. So different suppliers had different styles, and we figured out ways that they were writing certain things in descriptions and how they were titling matches, what they were calling teams and stuff like that. What we did with all that is we amalgamated all that data and then mapped it to our own taxonomy, and we put a lot of business rules into the DAM to automate that process. So when content come in, we could read what match was from and actually apply all of this data from UEFA's side so that it was perfectly within our DAM and then accessible to relevant stakeholders. And I just want to tell you a story about Euro. UEFA.com is not a rights holder for the Euro, so we're not showing live broadcasts of games, we're not showing video highlights, we're not showing goals as they go in or anything like that on the platform. And one of the conversations we had in the editorial team before the tournament was, how do we get visual storytelling across? What can we do to really engage with fans and give them an incredible experience on UEFA.com and in the apps? Because it's the official channel of the tournament. And so an image like this, a goal being scored, is very important for a football fan to see when they're in a match page in UEFA.com. And I remember sitting down with my boss and telling him a story from back in the photo agency days. We rigged out a stadium. It was for Republic of Ireland against Germany. Now, Ireland lost that game 6-1, but the one goal that Ireland scored, we had photos in from the stadium, cropped, captioned, and out to clients before the replays were finished on TV. I remember telling that story to my boss, and they were like, we need that. We want that for Euro. And bear in mind, at the time, it was typically taking a photograph to come in from all of our competitions, like to say a Champions League final, one of the biggest games of the year. It was taking about 15 minutes for one of those pictures to appear from, like a goal being scored, to appear on UEFA.com. It was 15 minutes, so we got that down to a matter of seconds. And the reason being was metadata. And I'll explain it in a bit, but a little really goes a long way. From just one piece of data, we were bringing images of major moments from pitch to fan in a record 29 seconds. So how did we do that? That one field contained a code and initials. And with that, we were able to decipher the event and the photographer. And the team, we were working in the IBC, well, we had screens all around us, so we were following the matches. So we knew the content and the context, so we were able to receive the picture, transform it, and publish it in 29 seconds. So that, from one field of metadata, we had absolutely massive success story. And that's yet to be matched within the industry. But then football never stops. I think this is 3 or 4 days later. This was a draw for the third qualifying round of the Champions League, taken by a photographer who worked at the final of Euro. So he had done his 4-week intense period, and a few days later he's back in it. So we were all back into our competitions. And where do you go from such a major thing like that and getting major achievement like 29 seconds? After Euro, there is a little bit of a, I suppose, metaphorical hangover. I was tempted to put a picture here from the party that was in the IBC after the final, but I thought better of it. But there is sort of a hangover effect afterwards. A lot of those fixed term contracts are finished, so a lot of the staff and colleagues you've had are now finished and they're gone. And also, with everybody working so intensely, everybody wants to take holidays, but of course the competitions haven't stopped. Football's still going. And my idea was I needed to hit the ground running with DAM and needed to keep evolving. The future was here. We'd achieved something so great with DAM 1.0 and with that story, which was 29 seconds. And now we needed to not even fall behind the standards we were setting ourselves. We're on a bit of an innovation trajectory, not only in DAM, but also in the content we were producing. So this is a recent series of photo shoots we did with Women's Champions League players this year. And we were changing the styles and our approach to content. And I was also applying that to how the DAM was to be managed. So we started doing a lot of research in the area. Cloud platforms and AI tools were exploding on the market. Our DAM 1.0 was on-prem. Probably, if it had been a year later, it would have been straight on cloud. But we knew, we got to move this onto cloud. We have to start looking at some AI tools. And so within the organization, there was more tools coming, more upgrades coming. We're on a digital transformation story as well. So we wanted to make sure that DAM 1.0 to 2.0 was going to be an integration first DAM. So we investigated and tested a lot of AI tools, looking at various different aspects of things you could do with AI, and what sort of time would need to be invested to work with them, and see how we could best bring them into UEFA DAM. We developed an integration first approach, where DAM 1.0 was a photo library. It was built to be an archive in the library, but now we realized that we needed a headless DAM. We needed to be able to integrate with everything. We did a lot of research in this period after Euro 2016 and until 2019, but unfortunately without development. And the reason for that is time is such a scarce resource. Me and the team, we work at every event and competition that UEFA has. So, I mean, there's no pause. And there's about 2 weeks in January every year, which is a little bit quieter than the rest of the year, but otherwise it's just nonstop. So we struggle to find time to really do the development. But we did work on a DAM strategy, and I'm just going to go away from my screen at the moment to show you a little bit the result of that strategy. So we brought in colleagues from broadcast video who also had a system. So broadcast video team were there. Our brand team were here. We're also managing a brand assets portal. And then the photo team and graphics, where my team were here. And we found there was quite a decent area that we could all work together in. And we started looking toward, looking past Euro 2020 to the future and where DAM could go. And of course, we faced some challenges. See, our IT colleagues were probably a little bit out here, and ultimately the decision makers were out here. But of course, I mean, that's not a bad thing either, because to get those circles to move from out there into there, it was quite a good process, because we got to educate our colleagues on all of our business process and workflows, and why were we doing everything, and why our thinking in DAM was going a certain direction, and where our roadmaps wanted to develop along. And as well as that, we got to work a lot more closely with each other to make sure that we can actually start bringing all these things together. And as a result, we made some developments towards Euro 2020 out of this. If I go back to my slides, I can just, so when we did the development from DAM 1.0, 2.0, it was actually during lockdown, which came this year. Tragic circumstances, not a very nice thing to talk about, and what's happened in 2020. But I do have quite a positive story to tell from a DAM point of view at UEFA. We've been planning for Euro 2020, and we were going to do a software upgrade from our vendor and move to cloud. We were going to do it in the months of March and April in advance of the tournament, but then the disruption came, and suddenly that gave us more resource. It gave us time and people. So we had no distractions. As you can see, Euro 2020 is postponed by 12 months. The club competitions were postponed. So we had no events and matches. We didn't have to organize photographers. We didn't have briefs to write. We had no photo shoots to come up with concepts and attend. We had no travel, and we had no on-site work to do. So, we now could focus our energies on this project. So we started to clean up the assets we had first before migrating, and we got rid of almost 1 million assets, which is quite a lot. We realized that over time they were no longer relevant to the organization. They had come through legacy contracts that they weren't relevant anymore to the direction the organization were going, and it was just taking up space, and it was a bit needless. And also we started to improve a lot of the metadata that we had and the tagging on images that came in on the DAM 1.0 migration that let's say had never really been brought up to date. We built a new data model. UEFA has amazing data around its competitions. So we started to build an entirely new model to map all of this content to a taxonomy structure. And in fact, I was working from home in a home office, and I was sharing the room with my wife. She's a high school teacher of English literature, and I'm absolutely certain that in the staging environment for DAM 2.0, I definitely created a player called Hamlet and Macbeth by mistake. But thankfully, it was in the staging environment and not in the live one we deployed. And then we performed a software upgrade from our vendor, and that brought with it an entirely new user interface, which has been hugely successful. We started some AI development around facial recognition to integrate that in DAM 2.0. And then we started to test it. So right around the time that this match official was going to a game in August, when football returned, our club competitions returned, Champions League, Women's Champions League, and Europa League, we started testing DAM 2.0, the DAM administrators, in parallel to DAM 1.0. So while everyone was still using 1.0, we were able to test 2.0 in a live environment to see how it performed and see what little tweaks we could make. And then we deployed it for the start of this season, where the season kicked off with a draw in September. And we just now have, we're into our third match day of Champions League, which is today and tomorrow, and Europa League is on Thursday. But why we've had such a positive story here is because we were able to take our time with this project, really focus on everything, slow the development down, and fine-tune everything as we went. We didn't have a strict deadline. Euro 2020, as I said, was the ultimate target, and that's coming next summer. So, you know, we weren't putting ourselves under too much pressure. We knew football was coming back in August. We were working to that as a target, but knew if we didn't meet that, we could always, you know, fine-tune as we went again and again in the coming months, and just look at Euro 2020 as the ultimate deadline. But we're very confident now that DAM 2.0 is ready for Euro. It's a much more modern user interface. As I said, the feedback we've received has been quite good. We've created new business rule logic, all based around that new data model that we built. And it's a very, very easy to integrate solution. So we went with that integration first approach, and already we're integrating with a lot of tools, and it's working really, really well. And I'm not an API expert, but I've been on some calls with people where we've been doing the integration and changing things, and really it's absolutely so simple that I'm delighted with how it's turned out. But then now we look at it, the improvements have been made. Now it needs to work, and just like that DAM 1.0, where we launched it a year before Euro 2016, we had that whole season. It's like that now again. We're using DAM 2.0 in a live environment and our live match nights like we will tonight, the Champions League. And we're seeing things all along the way, how we can improve that data model, how we can improve our workflows, how we can improve on automation, so that when it comes to that really intense period next summer where nothing can fail, it will be, again, an all singing, all dancing, modern DAM to service everybody's needs. But as we look to the future, we're developing an AI roadmap. So as I mentioned, we have done facial recognition, but we're also now looking at some other things. I mean, this picture here on the left and right, there's a logo of the two teams that are in the Champions League final, Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich. We want our DAM to be able to recognize these logos and tag the teams in that way. Also, there's Heineken sponsor boards on the LED boards around the pitch. We have all of this artwork in advance, so we know what it's to look like, and we want to train AI tools to be able to figure out what sponsors are in the background of the picture, because that's hugely valuable to some of our commercial partners. We want to increase our automation. DAM 1.0, I was on my own from the business side. After Euro 2016, I got an external resource, and now I have also an internal resource working with me for Euro 2020. But we can't sit down and tag all these pictures. We have thousands of pictures coming on a daily basis. So we need to automate everything. We need to make sure that when content comes in, it's available to all stakeholders. We live in a live environment most of the time, and everybody needs the content super quick. So we need to automate. And of course, as I've already mentioned, integrate. Euro 2024 is fast approaching. I know we're talking about Euro 2020, which is coming next summer, but already we're thinking ahead. We've had some launch events for 2024. So for me, it's already around the corner. And our DAM needs to be ready to evolve and be in line with technological advances that happen in the next couple of years. Maybe it won't be so great, but maybe it'll be huge. Who knows what's coming down the line, but we really need to be ready to evolve and adapt our DAM to integrate whatever needs to be integrated, or perform any upgrades, and just move in the right direction so that all of our stakeholder requirements can be met at such an intense tournament. And again, I'm going to reiterate the automate and integrate. It's becoming my motto for the future. It's whenever I'm talking about DAM, I'm just always saying automate and integrate. So basically, thank you. I just want to say thank you for listening today. And the key takeaways that I would hope you get out of today's talk would be that no project is too big and no administrator is too small. And actually, now that I read that, I think I've maybe ripped off a slogan from a kid's cartoon called Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol, in case you don't know, is a cartoon for young children where there's a couple of puppies, and basically they save the day all the time. It's quite popular in the Murphy household at the moment. My 2-year-old absolutely loves it, and clearly maybe I've been looking at too much of it at the weekend. Their slogan is no job is too big and no pup is too small. But in the DAM world, for me, no project is too big and really no administrator is too small to achieve things in DAM. Metadata is your best friend. There's no two ways about it. Metadata will get you the results you need if you harness it. If you know what to do with it, or if you figure out how the data is coming to you and how you can apply it to your own systems, then it is absolutely your best friend. You don't even need to worry about the context of what's in your assets. It's just whatever is in the data, you can make it work. You can make it appear to people in a matter of seconds if needs be in live environments, or you can make it quite easy for assets to be repurposed in the future. And then finally, again, my slogan for the future: automate and integrate. But that's it. I'm going to put my contact details on the screen. I'd be very, very happy if anyone wants to get in touch and discuss more about this this journey in DAM European football for still images, or if you want me to talk to you about your own projects or where you are in DAM, or if you have any other questions that you want me to expand on today, I'd be very, very happy to talk. Otherwise, Teresa, I hope there's some questions maybe.
There are. There's quite a number of questions. We'll see how many we can get through in 5 minutes. Somebody wanted to know, do you put all the images that you shoot next to the pitch into the DAM, or is there actually a selection process? I'm guessing if you're getting them out really quickly, you're putting pretty much everything in there? Yeah,
so we have the workflows basically from the photographers will do their own selections as well. So, but basically it's whatever photographer sent to us, we will ingest into the DAM. But when we were working in that live environment for those seconds, we were getting access to streams of content on just basically on the server as it was going through the IBC, and taking what we needed just to ingest into the DAM to get the fast stuff out. So basically, we don't take everything the photographer shoot. All of our suppliers will send us their own edits, let's say, from a game, and it can be quite a lot of pictures. I mean, it's not 20 pictures in the match. It is hundreds, or it can be thousands. But yeah, we don't take every single frame that comes on the camera, because then it would be an absolute nightmare to go through.
Sure. Okay. Question came through about how many people are on your team actually running the DAM, and what are the roles? So do you have, for instance, a librarian, a strategist, a metadata kind of roles?
It's a great question. So basically the team at UEFA that manages, so we also manage all photography in terms of the logistics and briefing photographers, hiring photographers for events and photo shoots. So we are a team of internally, there's myself and one resource who's on a Euro 2020 contract. So we manage all of the assets and photography internally. And then we have a full-time external resource who was also part of that team, who helps us with all of the aspects of managing DAM as well. And then we have an external, let's say, part-time, who also is a photographer for UEFA, and also can be on other times helping us out with DAM workflows and improvements on the DAM and improvements on tagging and things like that.
Interesting. Getting the photographer in the mix of it all.
Yeah,
that's good. Vital. That's good. Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more actually at different organizations. So that's good. Somebody asked about sort of multilingual metadata and aligning stakeholders to metadata. And are you, is your DAM in different languages? Can you search in different languages? Anything like that? Okay,
so yeah, for DAM 1.0, we took because UEFA.com is available in several languages, but UEFA has 3 official languages with English, German, and French. So we were looking at, okay, do we translate our metadata? Do we make it searchable in different languages? And strategically then we just thought we would go English only, because many platforms at UEFA are English only. So we said either we were going to do everything or we just do English, and we went with the English route only.
Okay. Couple questions around, are you managing or are you planning to integrate video at all? Or is this strictly an image DAM? Is that how it's going to stay?
So I wouldn't say it's strictly an image DAM. It's just how it is within the organization. Our video tool sits with broadcasting, so they have a different platform that integrates with different things and different tools. There are other video elements at UEFA as well, like we do a lot of clipping out of live match content for social media and things like that. But those assets, we don't see them as being, let's say, valuable to ingest in the DAM to be reused in the future, because if you want to reclip again, you can go back to the broadcast tool and do another clip. But certainly our DAM can handle video. It's just a matter that strategically it hasn't happened yet that it is managing any.
Okay. And then there was another question, and this one came, a couple of people were interested. Was anyone in your team furloughed during the lockdown, or did you work with a full team? And you might not want to answer that question because I think that might be confidential, but a couple of
No,
people.
I know I'm happy to answer that question. We worked as normal in the team.
Okay, full crew then. Yeah, I think that was the case with most media teams. And last question, with the minute we have left, what peripheral systems have you integrated in terms of when you're talking about the integration first strategy? Just somebody wants to know kind of what systems you're most focused on.
Yeah, so we've had a massive change in the CMS recently at UEFA. So that was our first major integration tool. We're also looking at another tool, which is going to help us get content to another one of our stakeholders, the teams and players, in a different way when it comes to Euro, to a mobile app, let's say on their own device, and it's just content specifically to themselves based on metadata. So these are the two main integrations I'm working on at the moment. I'm looking at some creative tools to bring in for editorial users, let's say, who need to, download a cutout straight away from the dam rather than actually downloading an image, putting it through a cutout tool or performing a cutout in Photoshop. Let's say that they can actually just download that straight away. We're also looking at some tools that would allow us to download with certain overlays that could be related to our competition branding and things like that as well. And investigating another one which can help us search other image libraries within our dam and then ingest that content directly rather than going to another platform, download it, ingest it.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think we're out of time, so I can't do any more questions. There's a few more that's come through, but Paul gave you his contact information, so if you didn't get your question answered, just send it over to Paul. Thank you so much, Paul, for your insightful and very detailed presentation and your participation in the event. Appreciate it. Applause.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.